Barry back here. Hope you're all doing well. Getting ready for a new lesson. We are moving away from stars and the waves they create as we kind of go further into our exploration of space. And today we're going to be talking about gravity and orbits. Before we get started on this, I just want to let you guys know that looking over those web quests that you did, a lot of you guys are doing a great job. The biggest thing I wanted you to be able to identify is that one, stars have various colors. It's not just yellow, it's not just white or red. There's blues and greens, there's all this array of colors, and that those colors are actually really important in telling us how much energy that star is producing. That if you are burning blue, you have very short wavelengths and you're super, super hot. And if you're burning red, you have longer wavelengths and you're burning cooler compared to other stars. And a lot of times, those colors indicate how close that star might be to going into its supergiant phase, or how close a star might be to going to its supernova, or if it's just burning through its fuel super fast, or if it's burning through its fuel very slowly. Okay, so that was the major takeaway that I want you to have from this web quest. And today, the major takeaway I want you guys to be looking at is, how does gravity, this force that we know, what goes up must come down here on Earth, how does gravity affect the motion of objects out in space when it's not necessarily just an up or down? Because what is up in space? What is down in space? There's no reference point. It's just movement in different directions. So, what you're going to do to complete the lab today. All right. So, if you have access to a laptop and Chrome and Google Docs, you can easily manipulate these as drawings inside of the drawing feature on Google Docs, and you can draw things, and you can use all these different scribble tools or shape tools. Okay, I'm partial to the scribble one myself because I can do whatever I want. So if I think, hey, I'm going to predict that the Earth does a figure eight right here, and then sometimes it goes over this way and it does a figure eight over this side, and then it comes over here, and this is how it orbits things, and then figure eight over here, right? I can do that, and then it gives me this image of that line. Okay, now hopefully you guys know that that's not how things actually work, and I can easily delete that, and I can do a different prediction of what I think is happening for the orbit of Earth around the sun. Okay, and then you just click save and close, and that image is going to go in there. Now, if you don't have access to this, that's okay. If you have access to a printer, you can print this out and easily just draw on the paper itself. And even if you don't have access to a printer, you can just look on this on your phone screen or another screen, um, and just follow along on a piece of blank paper or a piece of blank notebook paper, and kind of just labels things like pre-lab, and then write the drawings underneath, and then attach those images to the document when you're ready to turn it in. Okay. So, as you guys are going through this lesson today, the pre-lab doesn't require any kind of simulation, but as you're answering these questions and filling in the boxes, all right, the next piece is going to be all about drawing diagrams to show how gravity is the force that controls the motion of our solar system. And you're going to identify variables that affect how strong that gravity can be between objects, and use those variables to actually begin to predict how something might move if there was a change in gravity. And to do that, you're going to use this simulation right here. So if you click on gravity and orbits, it's going to open up into this simulation. Some of you guys might have done this in middle school, okay? And this is a really great, neat little simulation. A lot of the images are just screenshotted from this simulation. And take a minute and play around with it for a little bit and see what you can do. You can see that I'm watching the Earth revolve around the sun here, or sorry, I should say orbit the sun. Um, and there's a few other things that I can play with to get some information about that orbit. So first off is the grid. Okay, the grid lets you kind of see the distance and compare distance of the Earth. So you can see that the Earth passed through this point. So I'm just going to kind of hold my arrow here for a minute as we wait for it to come around the other side. And you can see it doesn't quite make it. It didn't quite make it to this point here. So what does that tell you about the Earth's orbit? Is it a perfect circle? Okay, some people think it is, but is it really when we look at this measurement? If you think this is going too slow, you can speed it up with a fast forward button that gets you a little bit faster, or you can slow it down. Um, and you can see that there's a counter here for days. Now, some of the other things, path is useful as well, so you can actually see the path that is being drawn by the Earth, all right, as it moves around the sun. Um, Gravity is going to be a big one. So this button here shows you the arrows that represent the force of gravity. So there is an attraction between Earth and the sun going towards one another, and the size of these arrows indicate how strong the force of gravity is. If the arrows are smaller, that's a weaker force of gravity. If the arrows are longer, that's a stronger force of gravity. Okay? And there's going to be ways that you're going to change this to see what happens to those arrows. And then there's also velocity. We're not going to play too much with velocity. Okay? Um, but if you want it on to take a look at, like, what's happening to velocity, you're more than welcome to have that on. But if you find it confusing, you might just want to leave it off so you can pay attention to gravity. And then there are some ways that we can change the mass of our star or our Earth. We can make it 2 times the mass. I blew Earth up. Now we're all dead. So this is a useful button as well, the reset button. So you can kind of play with this and get a hang of it. We're going to focus mostly on the star or the sun and the Earth. But there are other options. Like you can see there's ones with the moon or just the Earth and the moon or Earth and satellites. So there's a lot of options here to kind of play with those and get some experience on what's happening when you change certain pieces of the simulation. Okay. So while you're working through this, you are going to be answering these questions and drawing some things, either using the Google Drawing tool, printing this out and drawing it on yourself, and then attaching those images later, or simply just recording only your answers on a piece of notebook paper. Just know that if you're recording your answers, make sure you're telling me that you're working on part 3 or you're working on part 4, so I know where to comment on things if there are areas that need to be commented on to give you some feedback. Okay. Um, when you're all done with this, attach it to the Google Classroom assignments, and you'll get those 10 points to improve your overall grade. I hope you guys are staying happy, helping each other stay healthy. I hope to see you sooner rather than later. Please come to office hours if you are having issues. And please, if you're coming to office hours, you should be doing the lesson before office hours. If you come into office hours and say, hey, my first thing is going to be, or the first thing I'm going to say is, do you have any questions? And if you say, no, I'm just, calling to check in, I'm going to say, okay, well, why don't you go try and do the lesson and then come back? All right, because that's what I really want to use those office hours for is, I love talking to you guys. Obviously, I want to talk to you and see what you're doing, and that's probably something else I'm going to ask you is, what are you up to? How are you having fun? But I want you to have tried the lesson. So if you have any questions or if there's areas that we can improve and you can fix some things, then you can go ahead and do that. All right. Anyways, have a good one, guys. Hope to see you soon, and I'll talk to you later.